welcome to the Transfer Exchange Show. We are live and we have a new strike force today. It's K. Yeah, it's KJ, JK. All right?
Nice. I like that.
So anyone that's over the age of 30 will know what JK is about. And we're going deeper underground because we've got the transfer news before it's the news. And repeat that. If you know about Jamiroquai, you'll rate that line. How you doing, Jerome?
That was awesome. That was
very smooth as well. That was ad-libbing.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I'm trying to think of some Jamiroquai songs, but I know Virtual Insanity. That's the only one I know, I think.
Mate, we're Space Cowboys. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. We are Space Cowboys. So, there we go. There we go. People, I see you in already. Hit the like, hit the subscribe if you're not subscribed, yeah? Hit the share button, share it with all your friends, yeah? And join us in the comment section, yeah? We're going to get you involved today. We're going to speak to you. You're going to speak to us. If you've got questions, hit us up. Ask us the opinions, our opinions about transfers. What transfers are going on? Arsenal transfers, Man United transfers, Chelsea, Liverpool, Leeds, Leicester, West Ham, anyone. We don't care. Come in, join us and have a conversation. But first of all, we've got a mass of transfer news already. As I said last week, it's already kick-started. The transfer window may not yet be open. I think, actually, is it open on the 6th? Possibly even open. But it's already started. All right. So let's go. Simone Inzaghi became the new boss of Inter Milan this week, or last week, and after Conte left. Jerome, how did you feel about Conte even having talks with Tottenham as an Arsenal fan?
Oh, well, you know, he's one of the best managers out there, isn't he, Conte? You know, Juventus have dominated that league for so long, and he's come along and just, you know, I mean, I think Juventus might have finished fourth or something. He's done so well at Inter, and he's a winner, isn't he? He won in the, you know, he won with Chelsea in the Premier League. He's won with, you know, Inter Milan, and he, as an Arsenal fan, you'd be thinking, God, if this guy goes to Spurs, he's going to improve them. That's the, you know, ultimately you fancy him to improve that team. So it was a worry. It was a worry probably for a lot of Arsenal fans out there, and a lot of fans of other clubs, I'd imagine as well, that are challenging. So yeah, pretty pleased as an Arsenal fan that he hasn't actually joined Spurs, and interesting to see.
The thing is, for me, was Conte's a manager who gets what he wants, and if he doesn't, he goes. So if he was going to be signing for Tottenham, it would have meant he would have been getting what he wanted with regards to transfer budgets and the players that he wants to bring in. So it says a lot for him him having talks and that kind of falling through to potentially where Spurs stand in the transfer market.
Yeah, that'd have been a major coup for Spurs if they'd have got him.
Definitely.
You're talking about probably one of the best 5 managers in the world, perhaps, isn't he? He's up there, isn't he? He is. You've got Klopp and Guardiola, and then he probably ain't a million miles behind them.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I mean, Inter Milan knew they were getting a big loss there. First league title since Jose Mourinho. He's done a quality job there, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes next. Bayer Leverkusen sporting director Simon Rolfs has addressed rumours linking Edmund Tospa to Arsenal. Rolfs has now come out and clarified that Leverkusen's stance on Tospa's future, insisting they have no intention of sanctioning a deal at this stage in time. That says that the right offer comes in, they'd probably sell. So that remains to be seen what happens there. Manchester City have identified Portuguese forward Andre Silva as a potential replacement for Sergio Aguero. Bild claim that Manchester City have been in touch with Silva's agents and to lodge their interest in the striker. Eintracht Frankfurt are asking in the region of 40 million euros for their star striker. West Ham target Adam Holzek has signed a new long-term deal with Sparta Prague. Schalke confirmed defender Said Kolasinac will return to Arsenal on his loan due to the fact they cannot afford his fees on their current budget. Saul Niguez is looking like he could leave Atletico Madrid this summer. PSG, Bayern Munich and Chelsea are all interested in the midfielder. Lucas Vazquez has extended his contract with Real Madrid until June 2024. Pierre Schulz has caught the interest of clubs in Italy, Spain and Germany, and Napoli are one of the clubs most interested in the Ajax defender. Aston Villa and England midfielders Jack Grealish could stay at the club this summer, with both Manchester City and Manchester United willing to match Villa's 130 million valuation. However, the Even Standards say that Pep Guardiola seriously wants Jack Grealish this summer. Jerome, how much do you think Jack Grealish is worth?
I think those figures are a bit much. You're talking like three figures, like 100 million plus. I think that's, I think that's silly money. Obviously, you don't need to know too much about the game to know that he's a quality player. Grealish, like let's not get it twisted. He's absolutely fantastic. And looking at how he performed this season, considering as well, he missed a lot of games through injury, and he was on course. He got 12 assists in 26 games. I think the record might be around 20 in a season. So I wouldn't say he was on course to break the record, but if he would have played every game, it was a possibility that he would have done that. Great. The thing with the transfer fee is that you've got what would Villa sell him for and what would a buying club pay for him. And if you're Villa, you've probably got, you're not in a rush to sell. Your owners are spending money. So even if someone comes to Villa with like 50, 60 million, which is a lot of money, that might not be enough for Villa. And then it's the case of, is he worth spending 70, 80 million on? And I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure, because it's so much money.
Yeah, they missed out on Europe, which is probably something that's probably played maybe a little bit on his mind, as to potentially moving to another club. But I mean,
what do you reckon? What do you think he's worth?
I'd say about 70 mil, 60, 70s. And that's top end, I think, because look, we all know that Jack Grealish is a quality player. He's one of them players that could do something out of nothing and could potentially be top draw, world class even. But he doesn't walk into every team without even thinking. He's not played any European football. He needs to play at that level and show that he can cut it at that level consistently to say yes, he's that three-figure player. And I don't think there's too many three-figure players out there. So if we start throwing him into that bracket, then who else is there? I mean, as I say, it's not taking anything away from Jack Grealish. I don't think he's worth three figures, if I'm honest.
Nah, I think the fee is a bit much, but it would be interesting to see him in one of the top teams, because obviously at Villa he's the go-to guy, he's the main guy, could you imagine him in like I don't know, for argument's sake, a Man City or a Liverpool, see how he gets on in one of those teams, where he's not given like all the responsibility to make something happen.
But I think also it's like if you go into one of those teams and someone's paid 130 million for you, you have to go into that team and be the best player. You can't go into that team on 130 million and just fit in. You can't just be another player, because they can get another player from anywhere for more than half than that. So you've got to be exceptional if you're going to go into these teams. You've got to be the main man without a shadow of a doubt, and pulling up trees as well. Yeah. So Jack Grealish, 130 million. I don't know whether that's just a fee just to sort of scare them off, or even potentially bring up that price tag that they probably spoke about previously. Who knows? But yeah, I can't see clubs paying 100, or especially Man City, considering Tottenham want 150 million for Harry Kane. So
yeah. Also with Grealish, right? He scored 6 goals in 26 games for 100 million pound player. You want like a goal a game, don't you?
You got talking 10 and 20 assists or something like that, and that sounds outlandish, but you're paying 130 million. 130 million. Look, he got six goals, 12 assists. So it's a good record. 18 goal contributions. Actually, look, 18 goal contributions in 26 games. Why did he only play 26 games?
Just he was injured, like especially at the end of the season. Do you remember, he's only sort of just getting fit now for the Euros. He missed quite a few games back into the season.
Maybe the Premiership's catching up with him. Who knows? I'm probably just being a bit harsh, but yeah, when you're talking about 130 million, you got to be talking about the small details when you talk about paying that kind of money.
That's a creme de la creme, isn't it? That money.
It is. Man City are in close to signing 18-year-old Fluminense midfielder Methio, who's known as the Brazilian Paul Pogba. There's so many. There's so many Paul Pogbas. The Ghanaian Paul Pogba, the new Paul Pogba, the Spanish Paul Pogba. Is this the new Brazilian Paul Pogba?
So, according to Brazil, yes. No. Look, it's amazing how they get given these names.
It's like the real life champ manager, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, when you hear about he's the new Brazilian Pogba. So, all right, he's the new Brazilian Pogba. Let's have a look at him. Let's see what he's about. And he's made one senior appearance in his career so far. Most of his games have been for. I mean, you can still get called the next, even if you've never played senior football. But he's had one cap for Fluminense, where he spent like most of his career so far. He spent 6 seasons in the youth setup there. He was actually born in the Congo, and moved to Brazil when he was 1. I think his family fled from there and moved to Brazil. He's actually. What a lot of these Brazilian youth players do, I think it happened with Martinelli, is before they've even played for the national team, they train with the first team. I think you see it happens quite a bit, but looking at his, I guess, style of play, he's certainly not what you would call a one-dimensional midfielder where you say he's just got this aspect to his game. He can do a lot. He can beat a man from like just a starting the centre of the pitch. He can spray the ball out wide. He can tackle. He plays with he's always got his head up. So you can see why people are talking highly of him. But yeah, he's an 18-year-old that's played one senior game. Lots of obviously you can see he's got lots of potential and lots of ability when he's on the ball. But the next Pogba, he's got
a long way to go.
But definitely highly talented for sure.
All right. Well, keep an eye out for him. Man City look like they're on the verge of signing this kid. Jerome says he looks like a good player, and I'm sure they're bringing the best out of him at Man City because their facilities and training ground is the best I've ever seen. It's ridiculous. Roma boss Jose Mourinho looks set to frustrate Premier League clubs by keeping 19-year-old Gambian midfielder Ebrima Dorobe as at the club. Jerome, is he any good? Is he worth keeping? Can you see why Jose Mourinho wants to keep at Roma?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's definitely another one with potential, as you say. He's 19, not the same as Moutinho, the guy we just spoke about, but he was born in Gambia, then he moved to Libya, and then he moved to Italy. So he's been with Roma for quite a few years now, since 2017, and he only recently made his debut for the first team in May of this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, only played a handful of times for the first team, but he's played in big games already for them. He actually came on in one of the Europa League games against United in the semi-final. So that was one game he played in, and he also played against Lazio in the big derby there in Rome.
At 19. Bloody
19. Hell. Very, very much, if I was to describe him as a player, very much a stereotypical defensive midfielder. Keeps it very simple, doesn't overcomplicate things. He gets it, gives it, always looks for the simple, easy pass. In terms of a player in the Premier League, perhaps, that does a similar job, I would say maybe someone like a Billy Gilmour of Chelsea.
Okay.
If you know what I mean. He takes up very sensible defensive positions, isn't going to, dribble past 5 players with all these flashy tricks, but seems a very sensible, strong defensive midfielder. And yeah, for a guy that's so young, definitely worth keeping and see how he can progress under Mourinho. I mean, he's only played a few games, and whether he's going to start week in, week out, maybe not. But you got to have it's a squad game these days, isn't it? And you got to have good players, more than just one good player in each position. So yeah. Again, another central midfielder with a lot of potential.
Yeah, you mentioned Billy Gilmour. There's been links with Billy Gilmour to Juventus on a 2-season loan, I think it was. Do you think a move to somewhere like Juventus would be good for him?
I guess it'd be a good experience, moving abroad and playing out in Italy, because not a lot of British players do that, do they?
Yeah.
But if he's moving from Chelsea, I guess one of the reasons for that would be to play first team football, wouldn't it? Regular football, and Juventus is quite a tough team to get into these days, especially central midfield, where they seem to be stacked with midfielders. So from an experience point of view, I'm sure he'll have an amazing time there and learn a lot. But will he get a lot of minutes under his belt? It's that's the big question, I suppose. It depends what they want. It depends what they want. If they want him to play lots of minutes, maybe Juventus isn't the best team to go to.
Yeah.
Chelsea have got they've got a lot of experience loaning players out, haven't they?
Yeah. I mean, there's not many they seem to get wrong, and they seem to get a fair wedge of money when they do sell these players on. So. Yeah, they must be doing something right. Something right. Brentford are all set to bid for left-back Gabriel Fuentes from Junior FC in Colombia. Aston Villa are set to make a move for Southampton England midfielder James Ward-Prowse a day after agreeing a club record deal to sign fellow midfielder Emi Buendia from Norwich. Let's start with James Ward-Prowse. Top player. I honestly, I'm a massive fan of James Ward-Prowse. I call him James Ward-Beckham because I think I've not seen anyone take a free kick like him since Beckham in the Premier League. His technique's awesome. I like watching him when he's training, like all the little extra bits that he does to sort of perfect his technique. I really rate him, and seeing him the other day for England showed for me that he is that level, and he's not just a fancy midfielder. He was getting stuck in, he was tracking around, he was trying to win the ball back. He showed a little bit of a different from what I see, because I don't watch Southampton week in, week out, but he looked really good. Yeah, I think he's obviously got on top of his, I guess you'd call him attributes, he's also got like a fantastic attitude, isn't he? Yeah.
Like he's one of these players. Yeah, like that's so important these days. Not my only question mark, but just something that maybe put off top teams with Ward-Prowse is maybe the mobility side of things, perhaps. But yeah, technically, he's outstanding, and you wouldn't, if you're on the end that if you're on the receiving end of one of his corners or free kicks, like you're holding your breath, aren't you? hoping that nothing comes of it.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's such a danger. When he tears up around the box, it's a bit like Johnny Wilkinson when he gives it the old like that. When he sets his stall every time, like to perfection. And I mean, he's quality. I mean, this season he got 9 goals and 7 assists this season. I think the majority of them were probably from free kicks as well. I think last season he had a similarly good record as well. I think it was like actually it was less, but it was 10 goal contributions. But yeah, I really rate James Ward-Prowse, and I think if Villa can follow up Emi Buendia with James Ward-Prowse, they're moving in the right direction. There was a lot of uproar from Arsenal fans about Emi Buendia, the fact that Arsenal weren't willing to pay 33 million up front, or whatever the deal was, or however that was sanctioned. But do you feel that Arsenal missed out on Emi Buendia, or do you feel that Arsenal were not really had him as a priority?
Yeah, I'd like to think the latter. I'd like to think that if they really wanted him, they would have got him. Because not that it should matter, but there would have been there'd have been a big, if that was the case, there'd have been a big backlash from the fans. So I'm hoping that that's the case, and maybe he wasn't their prime target, perhaps, and they had other players in mind, and they thought, if we can get him for, even though it would have been a lot of money, if we can get him on our terms, we'll do it, and if we can't, then we'll move on to other targets. Hopefully that is the case.
Yeah,
but we'll soon see. We'll soon see with what they end up doing. But I think they've got themselves a great player, Villa. We've spoken about him before, and technically, for me, he's like one of the closest players technically to Cazorla. Excellent technical player. So but
Buendia I think is a really good player. Do you know what? I feel like
not convinced by him.
No, I think he's a good player. I think his first season in the Premier League, I'm not going to judge him on that. I thought he had a pretty good season for someone who come from the Championship, or I think it might have come from Real Madrid or Vélez or something like that previously. And I think he's got a lot of room to progress. I just think that I wonder whether the Arsenal fans were that much into him, or it was a case of there's no one else that they've seen about, or there's no one else that Arsenal have been linked with that they can hang their hat on, and it was just a bit of I don't know, and I see a lot of it. Arsenal fans, it seems like they're very fickle. Like they'd be all over the place with Emi Buendia this week. All of a sudden, it sounds like they might be moving towards someone else next week, and it's like, oh no, he's rubbish. Then 2 weeks later, you do a step over, and everyone's falling over him, and then they're in love with him, and it just seems to happen all the time. I just think, just get the right player. Arsenal just need to get the right player in. It doesn't. I'm not really stuck up on who it is. So yeah. Emi Buendia or not, just bring in the right players for Arsenal. Atletico Madrid coach Diego Simeone is set to sign a 2-year extension until 2024, and has asked the Spanish champions to sign Argentinian striker Lautaro Martinez from Inter Milan. I mean, if they can get him, that signing of Luis Suarez was an absolute masterstroke.
Yes,
that's one in the league.
Yeah, that's it. And we're talking about players spending 130 million on players, and you don't guarantee yourself anything, and you can get a player like Suarez, and like you said, he's massively contributed to winning the league. Like,
I don't know how much. I think he only had to pay a few million.
It was minimal. It was definitely minimal. It was
because he was meant to go on a free, but then Barcelona basically turned around and said, we're not giving to you a free. You have to pay something. It was in the end they paid 6 million.
There we go.
They paid 6 million, and he scored 21 goals in 38 games.
Yeah. 6 million these days is basically a free transfer, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Pretty much.
It's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. What's this one here? Richard Gladbeck would listen to offers for €40 million rated Leicester target Jonas Hoffman. Tottenham, Chelsea, and Atletico Madrid are said to be interested in the German winger. Should have had a look at that one. Manchester United are edging closer to agreeing a deal to sign Jadon Sancho from Borussia Dortmund. Look, it's not. There's nothing there yet. They're talking to Jadon Sancho. No deal's been sanctioned by Borussia Dortmund. I don't know whether the rumours are true about them bringing the price down. Potentially they could be, but we all have heard Dortmund turn around and say that they are willing to sell one of them. They're not going to sell both. They will not be selling both, they said. Will they stick to that? Who knows? If Man United come in and buy Jadon Sancho and then Chelsea turn around and say we're willing to pay 180 million for Erling Haaland, you're taking that. You're absolutely biting their hand off, because next season he goes for, I think it's 60, 70 mil on his minimum release clause. So they need to be careful with what they're turning down this summer. They need to be smart with it. Steve in the comment section saying, hi, how you doing, Steve? Atalanta have set a 52 million asking price for the defender Christian Romero. The 23-year-old centre-back has been linked with a move to Manchester United. Do you know much about Christian Romero, Jerome?
So just, I guess the top line, like you said, 23-year-old centre-back. So he's actually owned by Juventus. They bought him in 2019 from Genoa, but he hasn't actually kicked a ball for Juventus yet. They loaned him when they signed him from Genoa. He stayed at Genoa on loan, and then, as you said, last season he's been on loan at Atalanta.
Yeah. And
just to, I guess, what sums it up in terms of this player or how he's performed last season is in Italy, in Serie A, which is notoriously I guess you call it a defensive league. He got voted Serie A Defender of the Season for last season. So that sort of gives you a bit of an indication of the type of season season he's had. The way he plays, very combative, likes the duels, likes to commit himself, no nonsense, that type of defender. Really good anticipation, and he's not the tallest centre back. He's only 6'1", but wins a lot of headers. Very good in the air. Physically, again, not the tallest, and not the most like imposing either. He's built a little bit like Gabriel, that used to play centre back for Arsenal.
Yeah.
That there might be maybe very slight question marks over his pace, but because of how well he's played this season, he actually made his debut for Argentina last week.
Oh, really?
And, so just got called up in to play in the Argentinian national team, and he was a big reason why Atalanta did so well last season. They finished third in Serie A. They finished above Juve.
It's mad that Juventus have bought a player that could potentially be sold for 52 million, and he's not even played. He's not even played for him. That's some serious business. And he's finished
the season in a team that's higher. Higher than them as well.
Oh yeah, no, he has, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, the shame, the absolute shame. I suppose Juventus have got a defender very much like that. Is it Mirel Demiral?
Demiral,
Demiral, who's quite combative, also young.
Very similar, similar style, probably a very similar style,
So I can see why they could potentially look to sell him on a decent profit. West Ham have reached an agreement to sign 19-year-old French midfielder Pierre Ekwa from Chelsea. Leeds has shown interest in Napoli midfielder Eljif Elmas. How good is he? I've got a lot of Leeds fans that don't know much about him, so they've asked to see what he's about. What's he saying?
Yeah, I like the look. I do like the look of this guy, Eljif Elmas.
Eljif Elmas.
So he joined Napoli in 2019 from Fenerbahce, and he cost a lot of money. He cost about not too far from 20 million euros in total. He's from Macedonia, and despite being only 21, he's already played 27 times for them and scored quite a few goals. Unfortunately, this season he's only started for Napoli 3 times. He's come on a lot of as a sub, but he hasn't started. He's only started a few games, and they think one of the reasons for this is they've been a bit unsure of what his best position is. They've played him out wide. They've played him just behind the striker. But it seems as though his best position is just a central midfielder. Drop him in the centre of the pitch and let him defend a bit, let him go forward. Don't pigeonhole him into a role.
So he's a central midfielder?
Just a central midfielder.
He's a central midfielder?
Yeah. Who he's been compared to, a bit of a mix of Ndombele from Spurs and Wijnaldum. He's quite a strong, I guess, tenacious central midfielder, but on the ball, he is top draw. His footwork is quality. He dribbles a little bit like Coutinho, jinking in and out of players, and he's got that, I'd call it, the Paul Merson outside of the right foot cross. He's got one of them in his locker. But I'm looking, when you watch clips of him play, it's surprising that he hasn't featured or hasn't started as many games. Especially, I think Napoli sold was it Allen last summer?
Oh yeah,
and he sort of plays in that position. Yeah, and you'd think that he's gonna, this guy will play a lot now, and it just hasn't worked out like that. But as I guess there's a lot of people haven't really heard much of him, but watching clips of him, great footballer, lovely ball playing central midfielder.
And if you want a glowing endorsement, it's being scouted by Leeds, because that's one club that like to go for the unpopular, like to go for the players that everyone seems to have missed. And I mean, they had Rafinha last season, who's had an excellent season, which was a player that kind of went under the radar to a lot of big clubs, and now the likes of Liverpool are looking at him. And this kid here. Also, you looked at the player, who, I can't remember his name, is the kid who was at Ajax, the winger, but he was on loan at Genk.
Oh yeah,
yes. So that's another player that Leeds are looking at. They're finding these rough diamonds. Polish them up and then sell them on. Chelsea have opened talks with Borussia Dortmund over a potential £170 million move for Haaland. And the England forward, Tammy Abraham, could be a part of the deal. Jerome, how good a season has Haaland had this season? Is he worth £170 million? Do Chelsea just wait till next season when it's going to be he picks where he essentially wants to go, because every club's going to be in for him that can afford him? What's the coup? What do you reckon? Yeah.
So if we just look at, I guess, the pure numbers of Haaland, apart from, I guess, Messi and Ronaldo and maybe Lewandowski, he might even have better stats than Lewandowski, to be honest. I mean, you're looking at a goal a game player. Yeah, I mean, so there's the league and there's the Champions League. So in the league, he's got 27 goals in 28 games.
All right,
and he's got 8 assists.
All right.
In the Champions League, it's even better. He's got 10 goals in 8 games and 2 assists. So when you're looking purely from a numbers point of view, and you're talking to these big transfer fees, you can always argue that players aren't worth that amount of money. But I think with him, you are guaranteed goals. So if Harry Kane is going to go for 3 figures, then for me, Haaland's the same. And bear in mind, I think he only turns 21 next month, or September, something like that. He's only 20. He's not 21 yet, basically.
That's the joke. That's an absolute joke. He on the 21st of July, he turns 21. Frightening, absolutely frightening. The geezer's a man mountain, 194 centimeters. That's like 6'7". He's like 88 kilos. That's the weight of a wrestler, mate. Like this is not your typical footballer. You're buying a specimen, an absolute specimen of a human.
So what I will say with the fee is if you look at it like this, right? You can buy him for 120 million, and he plays for you for 10 seasons, and you spread that, you spread that payment. Then of course it's a lot of money, but I think Arsenal paid 10 million for David Luiz or something. So and had him for 2 seasons. So
well, they didn't pay 10 million. They probably paid about 30-40 million. But if you include in the wages, the 10 million that they had to spend on him, add that all up, So it's one of them ones, isn't it?
And with Chelsea, whether they see Chelsea are one of these teams where money's no object really. I think they would rather probably spend the extra money to guarantee them getting the player this season rather than waiting and then having Haaland have his pick of wherever he wants to go. I would be surprised if he goes to Chelsea.
I was surprised that, because obviously you hear a lot of links to work the clubs. So it was Manchester City, Real Madrid, and then Chelsea popped up, and I thought myself was Chelsea would have been one of the places which probably had the less chances of the two. Obviously, the connection with his dad and Manchester City. Real Madrid are just Real Madrid, but Chelsea, I don't know how much has played of them winning the Champions League has played into that. Thomas Tuchel being the manager there, I don't know how much that's played into it. But
for me, Haaland is one of those players where I can see him at like a club that's got, I guess, no disrespect, but like a bigger history. Like Barcelona or Real Madrid. I could see him at City because obviously the links with his dad, like you said. But he's a glamour player, and Chelsea, in recent years have been successful, but
that's what we've got to start thinking. If that continues, that is history. Then that will be that's part of history now. And 10 years time, that's going to be one of them. Oh yeah, Chelsea. Oh yeah, they've got history now. It started. Like, when did this? Like we're old now, mate. Like that was like 15 years ago that they probably first won the league, something like that. So that's history. That's history. We're getting to that stage. It may be modern history, but Chelsea have not just done it for one season. They've done it. They've done it for like two on the trot. Then missed the season, had it again. They've won Champions League twice now. Back to FA Cups. Their trophy cabinet is looking healthy. And someone also,
London's a big pull as well, isn't it?
London's a big pull. It's a very big pull. Yeah, I mean, Haaland, 170 million. Garth Lewis says, no one is worth 170 million. It's just absurd. Yeah, and you sound old. You sound like a grumpy old man. Was Neymar worth the 200 million? Could they say that they got that Paris Saint-Germain are getting their money's worth? Who knows? They probably made that back within a couple of weeks on the shirt sales, and no doubt buying Erling Haaland. Anyone that buys Haaland is going to make that back pretty quickly anyway. So, yeah, I don't think I understand what you're saying. You can't 170 million. It will be worth it in the end if you're winning Champions Leagues, league titles and stuff like that. I don't think it's worth 170 million, but I can't argue if someone was to pay that money, especially if Harry Kane is to go for 150 and you're talking he's got 8 years on Haaland as well. So, yeah, it's a tough one. Bayern Munich have received interest from Chelsea over England winger Callum Hudson-Odoi, with Champions League winners open to offers for the 20-year-old. Now, I'm not surprised at that. I'm not surprised. There was links with Jadon Sancho. If you're going to bring in Haaland, where does Hudson-Odoi fit? You've already got Ziyech there. You've got Pulisic there. You've got Mount there. You've got You got so many players. Tammy Abraham's still there. There's so many players in this team that play in and around that position on the wing. So no, there's not. I think he needs to move on and get game time because he didn't really get that towards the end of the season either. Chelsea have matched Paris Saint-Germain's offer for Inter Milan Moroccan right back Hakimi.
Yeah,
they mean business. They mean business. Chelsea get Hakimi to replace Azpilicueta. That'd be a top signing, surely.
Yeah, it's weird because I guess does James play on the right of a 3 then, rather than as a right back or a right wing back? Is that his position? Because
I would have said he's more of a full back.
Yeah, same for me.
Yeah.
He's a right back.
Yeah.
So for them to sign Hakimi, is a bit of a strange one.
Yeah, it is a bit of a strange one. Maybe Tuchel just wants a solid team. I mean, Chelsea are very ruthless when it comes to players. If they've got an opportunity to buy someone like a Hakimi and make their team a Galacticos team, then I wouldn't put it past Roman Abramovich, because even you hear rumours about Abramovich turning around and saying that if they can get Hazard back and sanction a deal there, go over Tuchel's head. I mean, I don't know how true that is, but he's the kind of owner that if he wants a player, he'd get the player. It doesn't matter who's in their way.
Yeah, he's very much the boss, isn't he?
He is the boss.
In charge.
He wanted Shevchenko. Chelsea got Shevchenko. Shevchenko was rubbish at Chelsea, but he didn't care. He don't care. Yeah. He wants Chelsea's his toy, and if he wants new figures to play, then he will. Paris Saint-Germain are set to complete the signing for Gianluigi Donnarumma, or have completed the signing of Gianluigi Donnarumma. The Italian number 1 has asked for the number 99 shirt. Arsenal legend Thierry Henry is reportedly attempting to persuade his former club to sign Anderlecht youngster Albert Sambi Lokonga. How good is this Belgium? Is he under 21 international? Or is he in the first team now?
I don't think he's played for the first team, but he was called up to the Belgian first team in March, and he's like a product of Anderlecht's youth team. Made his debut for the first team. I mean, he's only 21, and he made his debut for them like 4 years ago.
Okay.
Hasn't been regular since then, as I guess you'd expect, because he's been so young. But last season he played a lot. Played 27 games last season, and he's physically spot on. A brilliant physical profile, very suited to the Premier League. Bags of potential. Technique wise, I would say he's maybe not the cleanest player, but moves fantastically well with the ball. Very mobile, more of a dribbler than a passer.
Okay.
And he has done well in Belgium, but it would be good to see him tested against better opposition. He's a little bit like the player that's signing for Leicester, Sumari. Little bit like that.
Someone who can carry the ball from midfield to maybe forward.
That's it. Yeah, very, very comfortable on the ball.
It's what Arsenal are looking for. They need someone that in between. But I think I've not seen this player, but I would say that the player does need to have a bit of everything, though. That player needs to be able to dribble. He also needs to be able to spot a pass, find a gap, be in that gap, be on the end of that. Like, that's what they need. Yeah,
they can't have like an area where it's like a glaring weakness.
Yeah.
Like they don't have to tick every single box.
Yeah.
There can't be an area that is a big area of like concern, I guess.
Yeah, I think just in general, football's kind of moving away from your rigid player plays there. Yes, we will always have an AM centre. We always have a DM, but I think we're getting more back into you're a centre midfielder, and you should be able to shoot, pass, tackle, dribble, all of the above. Because it kind of weakens your team if you've just got a player who is a specialist in that certain role.
So, yeah. Yeah, yeah, I agree. But very young, promising central midfielder, and you'd like to think that Orme knows what he's talking about when he sees a decent player.
It's hard. It's hard not to argue with a player like Thierry Henry. Hard to argue. Sorry. So, what would you say his main attribute was?
I think the way he dribbles with the ball from central midfield areas more than he's not like a guy that's going to spray passes all over the pitch. He can obviously he can pass the ball, but I think his main areas with the ball at his feet, dribbling past players from central areas and making things happen from there.
Yeah. I mean, that's always a good thing because players don't like players running at them. So if you've got a player that's strong, can dribble with the ball, and is not afraid to take on players, I can probably see why Thierry Henry likes the look of him.
Yeah.
Arsenal's 23-year-old England midfielder Ainsley Maitland-Niles wants clarity from manager Mikel Arteta about his future, either with the Gunners or by having a move sanctioned. It's time to move on.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you're looking for clarity, then if you have to ask that question, then you already know the answer, don't you?
Yeah.
And look, he's as an Arsenal fan, you've got, I guess, high hopes, and it's nice to see players come through the youth system and make it into the first team. And it's not like he's come in and he's been at Arsenal and he's only played a couple of games. He's played a lot of football at Arsenal. Maybe not in his favoured position, but he's played a lot of football. And yeah, I think it's just like a natural, part in the ways, and wish him all the best. And he just needs to find the club where he can play regularly. Yeah. But it is a shame with Maitland-Niles because I think physically he's got brilliant attributes to be a successful Premier League player. A lot of attributes that are missing in some of Arsenal's current squad. Yeah. But for whatever reason, it just hasn't worked out. Whether it's because he doesn't want to play in a certain position, I think mentally sometimes switches off. Yeah. But if he finds that team and that coach that believe in him, then he could have a great career in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think Ainsley Maitland-Niles is one of them players who will, in a few years, it won't. I don't think it will ever be a case of look what he could have done, look what he could have had. Because I think a move is going to make him. If I'm honest, I think he needs to move away, find his feet. I think the start of his time at under Mikel Arteta, I think he probably threw his toys out the pram, which is why he won't get in the team.
Do you think that he could have made that right back position his own, or do you think no, he's not a right back and it could have worked?
I think he could have made that his own. I think it's one of them things that we as a footballer, you joke around with your mates when you meet someone new. What position do you play? I'll play anywhere. You can't play football. I mean, you can't play. Like if you're saying I'll play anywhere, for me that's like you're not serious. You're not good. And him himself would have been. I'm a central midfielder. I'm 20 now. I'm 21. I'm a central midfielder. I want to stake my claim as a central midfielder. So when you're like, okay, you'll play here, you'll play there. All right, at the start, you don't mind because you're getting game time for the club that you've been brought through as all your life. After a while, it's a bit like, well, I'm hardly playing at all, and now you're sticking me at right back. I'm not a right back, and I've not really had a good game, and I'm getting dug out about playing right back. I want to play centre mid, so I can understand where he was coming from. But like you said, I think he could have made that his own. Hector Bellerin, injuries, and just not really picking up an inconsistent form. Cedric didn't have the best start. But when he did come in, he looked a lot better. But then in the end, Callum Chambers has ended up taking that spot from all of them. So it says that there was a position there to be owned, and I think he missed a trick in not trying to claim it. And then in the end, it was I don't really think it worked out that great at West Bromwich Albion, and I think that would have been a massive culture shock to him. I think it would have been a massive reality check that maybe you're not at the level you thought you were in the position that you wanted. Because me personally, I think he got outshined by Conor Gallagher, who looked, I thought, a lot better and a lot more assured while at West Brom, and I don't see a mass amount of clubs coming in for Ainsley Maitland-Niles unless there's a good deal to be had and they see him as a utility player.
Yeah.
So, I wish him all the best, and I think I say that because he needs to move on, because we just need to start getting rid of these players who we're not quite sure about. Maybe in 3 seasons' time he might be good, or worried about that he goes to another club and does well. If he's not good enough to be playing week in, week out, then it's move him on. Move him on.
Yeah.
Arsenal have now been linked with Real Sociedad Alexander Isak. According to The Athletic, the Gunners are monitoring the forward ahead of a potential summer bid. Very highly regarded. In fact, Semra Hunter, who came on a couple of weeks ago, she actually mentioned him as one of the star young players in the Liga. Jerome, what are you saying about him?
Yeah, she's right. I mean, and there's I guess there's stats that back that up. So obviously this, as you mentioned, this is the striker, 21 years of age, full Swedish international. He's actually played for Dortmund, but only made a handful of appearances there. At Sociedad. So in terms of having a good, the season he's had, like what Semra was saying, so he scored 17 La Liga goals last season, and this is the first time a player aged 21 or under has scored 17 goals in a season since a certain Sergio Aguero in 2009, which is quite a nice record to have with him. He also, in terms of goal scoring records, he spent some time in Holland at a team called Willem II, and there he scored 12 goals in 12 games there. So he's a 6'3". You can call him, I guess, a target man, perhaps. Quite skinny. He needs to put on a bit of muscle, but he, as we were saying earlier, he doesn't tick every box, but he ticks a lot of them. He does tick a lot of boxes for a team that do play with one man up front. Because of his height, he presses very well from the front. He's also comfortable in wide positions. So he doesn't just, stay in the centre of the pitch. He'll move he'll move for the team, links the play, looks a handful, and plays at a quick tempo. Doesn't give defenders a lot of time. And when he's got the ball, he's looking to drive into space. Not one of the cleanest, most technical, gifted players that you've seen. Sometimes a bit maybe
clumsy,
not all over. A bit clumsy, maybe a bit like gangly at times, perhaps just because of his physical attributes. Although he has had a couple of good, I guess, seasons in terms of goals, I wouldn't class him as a natural finisher. Yeah, he's not like a Jermaine Defoe, perhaps. He's not that sort of player, but he can score goals. So it doesn't really matter that he's not a natural finisher, because if he can score, 15 goals, between 15 and 20 goals a season, that's enough normally. And
for Sociedad as well. For Sociedad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'll tell you who he. So in terms of who he reminds me of, I would say a little bit similar to perhaps Tammy Abrahams.
Okay.
Maybe that profile of player.
Yeah.
Someone like that, and then you can imagine Tammy Abrahams going to Sociedad and scoring, 15 goals, couldn't you? You could imagine that.
Yeah, you could.
But like you were saying, he's only 21, and he's as Semra said, he's certainly had a good season last season, and I think he's got a massive release clause. Hasn't he got like a 60 million release clause?
Yes, I think I literally just saw that he has. Yeah, he has a 60 million release clause.
Yeah. So
whether they would need to pay that release clause, like,
yeah,
I know Dortmund. Is he moved to Sociedad permanently, or is he on loan?
I believe he's at Sociedad.
Is it Sociedad permanently?
Yeah.
Whether you'd need to pay that 60 million release clause from Sociedad, I doubt it. I doubt it. Like, they would
you offer them good money.
Yeah, you offer them good money. They'd be silly to turn that down because there's not many players in their team that will be attracting that sort of money. And in Spain, generally they put the release clause at the upper end of what these players are worth, like well upper end. So they never thought that this kid was going to be worth 60 million. So let's meet in the middle somewhere. He looks good. Has he got pace?
I guess he's got, considering he's 6'3", he's definitely no slouch.
Mm-hmm.
He's not like he's not like a Giroud, say, who
is
can't
he getting
sprint.
bullied off the ball? Because you're saying he's quite slight. Is he?
No, he's okay. He's not, as I said, he's not like a clean. He won't. He like gets his body in the way, and he'll
He knows how to use his body type.
He'll find a way of.
And I think that's to do. And I think that's with a lot of players. Like, not every player now is your monster, bodybuilder type, athletic looking. There's so many now where you look at him like, this geezer's never going to do it. Not in the Prem. He's going to get eaten alive. And it's like, you're actually one of the best players. So they can handle themselves. These clubs would be silly to keep hacking down players now. I mean, players like Bruno Fernandes can survive in the Premier League, and he's very skinny. Arsenal midfielder Granit Xhaka has reportedly turned down another Serie A club in favour of joining Jose Mourinho at AS Monaco. The deal in the region of 20 million euros is what the Gunners were looking for the Swiss international. 20 million a fair price?
It's hard to really ask. It's hard to really ask for much more, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, I guess, in this climate. It's not. You can't say. He divides opinion so much, Xhaka, doesn't he? There'll be some people that will say, no, 20 million is nowhere near enough, and some people will say, yeah, that's fine. Like, and the money's pretty much irrelevant to them. But if he was worth 30, 40, a club would come in probably, and someone would pay that, and you'd have you wouldn't have maybe a bidding war, but there'd be a lot of clubs interested. And the fact that he's looking like he's going to go for 20, and there's not loads of people queuing up to buy him.
It's just other clubs putting in 20.
Yeah,
they're not going, no, we'll pay 25. They're going, no, we'll pay 20. Do you want to come to us? And he's like, nah, Jose Mourinho.
So it's hard to ask for a lot more if there's not teams queuing up waiting to pay.
I think Italy will suit him. The pace. I think Jose Mourinho will suit him. Wish him luck, and let's see what we do with the 20 million, because don't hold high hopes.
They'll be using someone that to pay this not little, but they've got a fine, haven't they? All these top six Super League clubs.
Yeah. Well, before we go, someone's actually asked that question, so we will.
Okay, cool. Nice.
Ruben Neves has held talks with Arsenal as he edges closer to a potential move. What are you feeling on the Ruben Neves potential transfer to Arsenal? Because again, after the Emil Buendia situation, where Aston Villa have looked like they've won the race for that, a lot of Arsenal fans were upset about not getting Buendia, and on the flip side, saying that Navas ain't the guy. What's your feelings on it, Jerome?
For the money that's been quoted around, was it 30 odd million, something like that?
Yeah.
But for that sort of price, I'm not massively convinced. Because to me, that says this guy is pretty much going to be, one of the first choice midfielders. I think technically he's obviously very good. There's probably no doubt in that. But just from me personally, what I like to see in that central midfield area is I want to see the mobility, because that's something that hasn't always been there. So
yeah, you was quite frustrated with that with Granit Xhaka, and to get someone in who's it's going to be more mobile, but is he as mobile as what you wanted in the midfield?
No, not really. I don't want that to be another area of weakness for Arsenal. So for 30 million, I think it's a bit lumpy for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's the type of profile. I think he also plays in that area where maybe Partey normally plays on the right a little bit, and I think that's where he tends to pick up the ball. I'm not sure.
Do you think? What about? Well, I've just seen another article on it quickly, which says Arsenal potentially contemplating a money plus swap involving Ainsley Maitland-Niles. If you used to bring down the price of Ruben Neves, would you be happy to swap him with Ainsley Maitland-Niles plus money?
It's a deal I'd do. I'm still reluctant to do it because of the mobility, but I'd be happy to do it if it means that he's like ahead of El Nene in the pecking order, say.
Yeah. Well, surely someone like El Nene gets moved on.
Yeah, I don't know. Surely
you would have thought someone like El Nene gets moved on. Who knows? Barcelona eyeing a potential surprise swoop for Manchester City and England star Raheem Sterling. I mean,
for they have no money.
They don't have any money, so I don't know where that's going to come from. Brighton boss Graham Potter is still in contention to become Everton's new manager after the departure of Carlo Ancelotti. Do you reckon Graham Potter would be a good manager for Everton?
Yeah, I rate Potter a lot. I really rate him.
He just needs maybe a Marcel Brands to bring in the players that he wants with a little bit more of a budget on his transfers, and then he could really show what he's about.
Yeah, honestly, I think he's so underrated, Potter.
Yeah,
he's just not very he's not a fashionable name, is he?
No, I know what you mean.
But I think, not to get too statty, but like Brighton have either created the most chances, or it's one of them where if they had a guy that could score goals, they'd have finished a lot higher in the league. And
yeah,
I think Potter's been a big part of that. Also, I like the name Potter because one of my favourite programmes, one of the main characters was called Brian Potter from Phoenix Knights. So, yeah,
there's your connection. Let's hopefully it's not as a calamity as the Phoenix Knights Gentlemen's Club, whatever it was, Working Men's Club.
Yeah, Phoenix.
Paulo Fonseca is in talks with Tottenham about becoming their new manager. So yeah, keep an eye out for that one. Brian Potter. We got a fan. We've got a fan there. And we're going to go back to Garth's question. What do you gents think of the 22 million fine that the FA and the Premier League have given to the 6 ESL breakaway clubs? 3.6 million per club. What's your thoughts on that, Jerome?
I think it's been the fine that was originally quoted. They were quoting, maybe add a zero on the end of that for each club. It's really just for these clubs. It's nothing, is it really? I guess you have to fine them because they've done wrong. So it's like a slap on the wrist, isn't it, I suppose.
Yeah. But I mean,
what do you think? What do you think?
Look, I understand why people are upset about it, and in the grand scheme of things, it's very easy to say 3 million is not a lot, yeah. But where does it stop? If you was to slap 30 million on these, all right, Chelsea would suck it up, City would suck it up, even Man United would suck it up. Arsenal ain't sucking it up. Liverpool potentially ain't sucking it up. These are two clubs that have come from a bit lower and have moved up, and Liverpool just about scraped into the top 4 this season. Arsenal aren't in Europe. Oh, if Arsenal get hit with a 30 million, that's a player they're not going to be able to bring in. Like that would just be the case. It's a tough one. I think they're trying to find a middle ground between showing that they're being serious with it and not absolutely pulling the arse out of these clubs, and then them saying, do you know what, what's the point? Do you know what? Just sod this. We're going to actually go and do it anyway, because that's just disgusting. But what they have said is next season, or after this, if you try and do it again, there'd be a 30-point deduction and a £25 million fine. And I mean, if that's not something to sort of ward people off from trying it again or even contemplating it, I don't know what is. So,
that means relegation for Arsenal, basically.
That's relegation.
It's relegation. Yeah,
that's relegation. Arsenal, if they have a 30 million fine or 25 million fine and a 30-point deduction, they're done for. They'll be relegated. They'll be relegated. Garth says, personally, I think it's a disgrace. Should have been tens of millions per club. Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's one of those things. I think you've got to find a balance in the first place. You can't go too over the top because, like, sport of arbitration, sports lawyers get involved. Like, there's got to be certain levels to these fines that people get in, and if it seems over the top, you won't get any money because they just take you to court and say, "No, you've gone well over the top." Bosh, 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 written off, and it won't be good for the Premier League. Yeah. What's this one? This one was probably. Problem is the price. Oh, this is about Haaland. The problem is the price pushes up average players. 20 million for players, now 40 million for players. It's true. It's true. But has the pandemic kind of leveled that out a bit? Has the pandemic made some of these clubs think about, okay, some of the upper echelons players are still going for the big money, but those middle ground players, I wouldn't say so. It's hard, but I completely understand what you're saying. Yeah. Lads, thoughts on Foden's new haircut? Personally, I think Barnett single-handedly bring football home. I love that. I love that, Craig. I love that.
You know who Craig is? I'll tell you who Craig is. I'll let the cat out of the bag.
Craig, your brother.
Yeah.
There we go. He's got better banter than you. Look at that. Love it. Hey, Craig. Yeah, I'll let you into a secret. It's coming home. All right. On that note, Jerome, thank you for joining us tonight. The new deadly strike force. All right. We didn't have many exclusives tonight, but what we did bring people is player profiles. We brought you conversation. We brought you debate. All right. And we got involved with the people in the comment section, our supporters. Thank you for joining us, people. We will be doing stuff over the Euros. We'll be doing watch-alongs. We'll be doing post and pre-match. We'll be doing just even we just jump on for after a game and just talk about the game afterwards. Do you know what I mean? We're just going to do whatever. But we will be advertising what's going to be coming up soon. But also I'll be doing an impromptu one if there is a great game that's been on that I've watched and I feel like talking about it. I'm just going to jump on straight away. I'm going to jump on live. Also, I'm going to be on Fabrice Muamba's Twitch channel over the Euros doing watch-alongs and loads of different stuff on there, commentary. So, yeah, come and join us on Twitch channel as well, on Fabrice Muamba's Twitch channel. Hopefully we can get him on here as well. Show some love over that side and hopefully he'll show some love over this side. But yeah, people, thanks for joining us. Obviously, Melvin Marks, the man himself. We've got the full squad in here. The full squad. Craig Marks in there. Thank you, brother, for joining us. We can now officially let the cat out of the bag. You're one of the brothers. All right. Garth Lewis, my boy, here every week, dropping the questions. Absolutely love it this week. Steve, he wasn't here, but he's here in spirit. He's gone to see the Jersey boys. I hope that they can brighten up your day. Probably not as much as we did. All right, people. Thanks for joining us. Peace out. Stay safe and wash your hands.